David, your first season at Burnley's come to an end. If you had to describe the experience as a whole, how would you start?
Yeah, it's been a really challenging year, I think, in a good way, because there's been so much work. As in any academy I've worked in, there's always a lot of work to do, and I think when the manager and obviously the owners try to line everything from the first team down, there's been a lot of work to try and make sure we've got that alignment from top to bottom. So it's been a challenge personally, and but I think it's going in the right direction. We've got a lot of good staff within the academy and within the football club that are part of that journey we're on. There's obviously this long-term project that we're trying to try and ensure that we've got players coming through readily into the first team. It doesn't happen overnight, so I think this season's been all about trying to put those fundamentals in place to make sure in the future that we've got players. So yeah, it's been a really good challenge, but also quite exciting.
For fans that might not be aware, what is our academy set up at the moment and what kind of programme do we run?
Yeah, I mean, we've got obviously the pre-academy programme at the very bottom, which is like under 7s, under 8s, and then your official academy team starts at 9s, it goes all the way up to 21s. So you can imagine when you've got all those different age levels, there's a lot going on. It gets broken down into like the foundation programme, which is from 9s to 11s, and then your YDP programme is obviously 12s to 16s, and then the professional development phase is 18s and 21s. 18s, 21s are full time. The rest of them are obviously still at school. We do have a day release programme for some of the groups in the older YDP stage. So if they're not in the day release programme, all the players train 3 times a week, play a game at the weekend. So there's a big commitment there from parents, big commitment there from the football club about what we invest in the programme to transport kids in and out, and obviously to support them with the amount of staff we have. So it's a massive operation. It's the same at any club. Academies, when you've got well over 100 players involved in it and 100 families, you can imagine there's a lot goes on a day-to-day and week-to-week basis.
If we start right at the top then, with the 21s, would you say it's been a positive season development-wise for Andy and his team?
No, definitely. I think that there's a little bit of transition there. You're always going to have that at the start of the season, that some boys would start there, then they go out on loan, some boys actually moved on during the season. And then we'd obviously Charlie Adam, who was working with Andy Farrell, with the 21s that moved on to take up a first team role at Fleetwood. So we haven't replaced that yet. We wanted to make sure we get the right person in that goes in alongside Andy, so we've obviously just been as a staff working together to try and make sure that there wasn't too much upheaval. I think it's been a real challenge for those boys because of the way the weather was at points in time. There was so many games called off, but what that did was it put such a backlog in the second half of the season. So from that point of view, it was real hard work for them, and I got to give them a lot of credit. I think that they're always going to be up and down young players, but generally they had a really good mentality towards what we're asking them to do. We had a bit of a turnover. We brought a lot of players in January because we needed to supplement the group that was there, and we always try and move younger ones up. That's what an academy's about at the end of the day. And obviously with Vernon having a little bit of publicity, he's somebody that we recognised at 16 years of age was showing more potential, and then when he really put that work ethic behind it, he's had good opportunities moving up. So they're the most important things when you see development of individuals. The kind of generalism of it is that there definitely was times when I thought they played some really good stuff which the manager's looking for and the club's looking for, and then they've obviously done well within some of the cup competitions, which was the big thing into the season was they managed to win that Central League Cup, which was a really good, I don't know, experience for them to give them a taste of winning football at a good level against a good side in a stadium and stuff like that. So I think it's been, I say, real hard work with the amount of transition with it, but I think it's been a really beneficial year for them. Especially for some of the individuals. I've seen a lot of improvement and development in, and also as a group.
Obviously you mentioned Vernon there. Under 18 stepping up to the 21 has been quite common, you know, Murray Campbell, Joe Ashton. What do you think of the benefits to that for them?
It's massive. Like if you think of any jump, if you go 21s up to the first team, the jump's huge, particularly in the level we're at. So if you don't accelerate young players underneath, then it's always going to be a bigger jump for them. So what we try and do, and it's something I've done all my career, is let wherever I've been, if you do have talent that you think can deal with that, and it's a challenge for them, it's not an easy path. Making it in professional football is hard, but if you can recognise with some players that they deserve the opportunity, they've earned the opportunity, and you feel that they've got the potential, you've got to do it. So I think that when I look at, like, as you say, Murray, you forget that him and Joe Ashton were under 18, to be fair, because they went up to the 21s. It's funny, Murray had says to me, he said that it was such a huge dump going 18s to 21s when he did it initially. So any players going up, you've got to understand that there's a bit of a jump, particularly physically, the intensity of the games, and obviously we've got to make sure the players are ready for that. And I think with Vernon, and I've said it quite openly, we had to manage him quite well, that we don't overstretch him, and I think the staff did a good job of making sure there was a balance, but the development in them, you can see it's just harder for them, you know. I see that with any players. If you've got to stretch them, but don't stretch them too far, but if you don't stretch them, they never actually develop. So I think that we've got a real mentality, that's what we want to do. However, they've got to be good enough to do it, and they've got to have the long-term potential to do it. It's okay saying you move players up, but they've got to have the level of quality that we require, and also they've got to have the potential.
If we look at the under-18s age group now, where we've got our scholars, how do you help them manage that transition into full-time football, and what does their sort of week look like?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it quite openly that the 18 is such a hard schedule for those boys, because they're still doing education for a number of times during the week, which they've got to do, because not everyone's going to make it in professional football, so they've got to have a backup, and we've got a really good education programme. So the boys finish with having like a BTEC, which is the equivalent of like 3 A levels. They also do the Sport and Excellence programme through the Premier League, so, and the FA. So it's one of these things that there's so much work they're doing, as well as doing their training and coaching. So there's a lot of demands on them. I think that obviously you've got Andy, who looks after the 21s, you've got Tony, who looks after the 18s. They do a really good job, because they've been involved in the game a long time. It's getting the balance of driving the standard but also supporting. I think we're also fortunate that we've got other staff around that, and we've got a lot of support staff like the player care department, safeguarding, that are there to support them. So I say it's a lot of work for those young fellas, and I think they've done really well. I think that the biggest plus point of the season is that Vernon was an under-17 playing up with the 21s all for a big part of the season. Murray, Joe, you've touched on already, but we've had so many other players that went up there, and we've given them that opportunity and trying to stretch them. So that's the most important thing. The sub things that are important is that I thought they did really well in the Youth Cup. There's some great experiences. I thought that Tony and Matt, you know, they played a couple of unbelievable games. One at home to Birmingham, went to penalties, and Lewis Forshaw has done well this season with saving penalties, and Ollie Pimlos got the winner. That was a great moment throughout the season for them as a group. But then they went to Queen's Park Rangers, incredible opportunity to play at that stadium. It's such an iconic stadium, and did really well to progress. They unfortunately had a few injuries when they played Bristol City in the next round and didn't quite manage to go through, but I thought it was really good for them. And there was a number of other competitions they were in, they were a bit unfortunate in, but listen, I thought it was a really, really positive season for them.
You mentioned that they seemed to grow into the season as well, second half of the season, a lengthy unbeaten run. Do you think that was just a case of them getting to know each other and getting to grips with football at that level?
I think so. I think though, again, it's a lot of it's down to staff. Like if it's the sports science department, either Jack or Adam doing a lot of work to get them fitter, to get them to play at the intensity that we need. And then a big credit is obviously the coaching staff. It's between Tony, Matt, and obviously Ash Higgins, our head of coaching, looking over that. There's a lot of work goes on to try and make sure they support them and let them understand. Then from an analysis point of view, we've got a good department analysis wise to try and teach them. So if you think there's so many things they're doing their own pitch coaching, I call it, with Tony and Matt. You've then got your physical development from the sports science department, which is also done on the pitch but also in the gym. You've then also got the analysis that's done with them. It's like there's a lot goes on there. It's not just a case of, I said years ago, throwing some cones down and hoping that they do well. There is a lot of work, particularly the way that we want to play. An easy way to play is just knocking it forward and hoping for the best, but we do have a real definitive style of play, which is all about their development. So I think there's been a lot of support done there, and I think sometimes it takes time, particularly to learn that way. Through that journey, they're always going to make mistakes. You're just trying to limit how many mistakes they make and they learn from it. So I think as well, in fairness to them, there's been times that when we move players up to 21s, they become weaker, but we try to make sure that we're keeping them at their own age level for the right reasons. The Youth Cup will always try and give the coach those opportunities to have his strongest team. I know every other competition, the league and cup, we don't. We just allow them to it's not. Listen, it's a bonus if you end up winning League One or Cup. It's not the be all and end all for us. Some clubs get carried away with that. We're all about looking at accelerating and challenging development. So the amount of times if we had just kept Murray, Joe, Vernon amongst all these other boys with the 18s, they would have won a lot more games. But that's not what it's about. And in credit to them, even at times when you've got a slightly younger group, that they've done really well. A lot of the results they've had. But again, most importantly, it's how we play, and it's about who we try and bring through.
You mentioned at the start we do run from under 9s upwards, and those younger age groups are really important to us.
Yep.
As part of that, there's lots of enrichment opportunities, trips abroad, etc. Yep. How important is that element, the off-pitch element, to those younger age groups, do you think?
No, it's essential. I mean, they get so much. I mean, the club, to be fair, it's like that. I think probably sometimes that people don't appreciate how good it can be. Do you know what I mean? And some of the kids this year, I mean, they've been to Madeira, they've been to Faro, they've got to go to Scotland. Obviously, it's a high-level country to go to, but they've had some amazing experiences. And recently, the 12s went down to Chelsea for a tournament. There's other trips. The under-15s went to Italy. We even had a really good programme. It's to do with the Holocaust that Chris Heap, our player care officer for the academy, took some of the. It wasn't a football thing. It was more of a supporting the memory of the Holocaust. So there's so many things like that we do, and I think that between like Chris, there's a really good programme, and that's supported by Jack Tebbett, who's with the first team, and supported by Mel with the safeguarding. That there's such a good programme there that's teaching children about diversity and equality, which is I think I'm very fortunate of where I've worked before, and I worked in New York, which is one of the most diverse cities in the world, and I think that the world's become more diverse, and I think it's important that we make sure we teach our children in this academy about diversity and about equality. So I think within our academy it's good to see that we have got real diversity within the staff and the players.
And as we stick with the slightly younger age groups, we've had several international call-ups this season. I'm thinking Archie, Kevin and Kian. Is that recognition for the staff's hard work and the programme we have here at Burnley?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's something we're trying to improve. We're really trying to improve the identification of talent. We're trying to improve the way that we develop talent coming through. But within that, at the moment, we've still got players who have had opportunities to go and play with their country, which is amazing. And hopefully through time there'll be more of that. And I think those experiences, they're invaluable to get opportunities to do that, and we just love the fact they get to do it. It's something that we would encourage, just the fact they can go and play against different countries and different parts of the world. I mean, what an amazing opportunity for them they've had.
And we can't do what we do without the support of the parents. I know you value that greatly. How important is it to you that they're buying into the vision that we're putting forward?
Well, it's massive. It's hard because parents are there to parent their child, and sometimes that we're asking them to do certain things, and you need that buy-in and you need that support from them, or number one, they wouldn't be here. I mean, the club do a really good programme that Connor, with operations, we've got a transport programme, which again is a big thing with the drivers we have from 13s up. But that's not every night, so you're relying on parents to bring them. The younger groups, obviously, again, you're even more reliable on it. So you got to respect that parents work, they've got jobs, they've got to get their kids here for a certain time. So it's and the more the kids get here, the better they're going to become. But you need that. And again, the biggest thing I think with some families is that every kid, a lot of kids have got siblings. So it's like, how do you manage it and how do you balance it? But to be honest with you, they do great at getting them here. And then for me, it's just a case of us continually trying to just have clarity in what we're trying to do, and hopefully if there's clarity in it, that the parents can understand that we are trying to do right by their son. Again, football's very opinionated and some people might disagree, but it's from our expertise, it's what we do. We're really, I'm very confident, the club's very confident what we've put in place is going to develop players for the first team in the future, and all you're looking for is the parents to understand that, respect that, and hopefully follow suit and try and make sure they give the kids the same message.
We've put some significant investment into the facilities at the training ground. We've got a new artificial pitch being built. Yep. Where are we at with that, and how do you think that will be used going forward? No,
it's been massive, because the pitch was, again, when I came in, a lot of the staff said, oh, it's definitely something it's run its course a little bit, and it's just been so hard to get it over the line. But to be fair to the club, it was something that we really wanted to, it's going to make a huge difference for a number of reasons. And in fairness to Alan, he eventually gave the green light on it, because a lot of money, you know, it's not like people just assume like clubs of this size, there's not an endless pit of money, so you've got to be able to justify that it's going to help. But it will be huge for us, because I think that We had the older Astro and again it ran its course, so it wasn't as good. They've made the pitch bigger. It's obviously a far better surface, that's why they spent so much money on it. But with that in mind, we had to have a short-term programme, and we've adapted well enough. But once we get that pitch back, I think for the kids that have been here, they're going to really appreciate that, and I think the coaches as well. When you get something like that, I think that if you've been in a club and something's been there for a while, then you kind of redo it and upgrade it. I think the coaching staff and people working there just get such a buzz off of that and such an excitement off it.
I mentioned that work there, and I know Alan came down to the Central League Cup final as well. Does that just reiterate how behind you and the academy, the ownership group are?
Oh, 100%. I mean, you've got to remember, we got through to that final, and to be fair, they came to, earlier in the season, I think him and Mike Smith and John Dewey came to the game we had with under-18s. It was so exciting, it went extra time, went to penalties, and they were part of that. And I think because they're investing a lot of their own money into the club, you wanted to hopefully show them that people are trying to do the right things, it's not going to happen overnight. And then the under-21s, I said, they've worked real hard and done really well in some of the games that they got to the final. In a passing conversation, Alan said he might come, and to be fair to him, absolutely brilliant. He's a busy man, obviously, with everything that's going on at the club. He travelled in the bus with the boys, he was part of it, and I thought it was brilliant for the kids. Kids, they're young men, but for them to see that support from above, great for us as a staff, and I think it was great for Alan as well, just to be part of it. I mean, it wasn't just a 10-minute journey, it was all the way to Derby during the week and all the way back, and with a wee bit of an issue with the bus, we had to change buses, so that just added to the drama, I think, of the night. But again, the great thing was the boys managed to get a result in it, and I think that it was such a nice moment, and it was great that he could be involved in it. And as I said before, it's great that he gives us that support.
Just finally, I know we've got a break soon, but prep for next season's well underway. Is there anything you can share vision-wise as we go into the new season?
It's, again, I say it, it's just, in any account, it's just relentless. You're just working all the time to try and improve things. You know, the minute you kind of take a back seat, things can drop. So we're just working really, really hard. That if you take it as a general point of view, well, we've restructured some of the staff. They've got new staff coming in across the age levels. We'll be looking to bring a new 21s coach. We're looking to bring in a new head of recruitment, a new PDP scout. So there's a lot going on within the structure, so we can try and improve the level of player we're bringing into the club. But again, it's all about just trying to improve the quality we can put out there, and then hopefully, if the boys can take on board what we want, that there will be some that can hopefully progress into the first team, because that at the end of the day is the long-term vision. There's a lot goes on behind that, and obviously we want the players to have a really rich and fulfilling experience, but fundamentally we've got to get players through. So there's just a lot of work going on with that. Regarding with the structure and the curriculum, we put in a lot of work at the start of the season. I think the coaches have been excellent across the academy, taking that on board.